absolutely. Like in one session, it didn't cure. It's not a magic bullet. It didn't cure all of my trauma, but it pulled me out of the darkness enough that I could start working on everything else. So it got me to a place where I could focus my attention on myself and learn tools to keep myself alive.
There's a question nobody asks about billionaires. What's broke inside them? We study hoarders on reality TV, people buried under mountains of stuff that they can't let go of. We call it a disorder. But when somebody hoards enough capital to end hunger in entire nations and chooses not to, we call it genius. We put them on magazine covers, we elect them into office. Today's guest thinks that's insane. Diana Collins is a speculative fiction writer, a trained psychedelic facilitator, and a survivor who was pulled back from the edge by an underground MDMA therapist when nothing else worked. Her four-time award-winning debut novel, They Could Be Saviors, asks what would happen if you kidnapped 5 billionaires, forced them into psychedelic therapy, not to punish them, but to cure them. Because in Diana's framework, extreme wealth isn't a reward, it's a symptom, a trauma response operating at a planetary scale. We're going to dive into two things: what psychedelics actually do to the brain, and what's really driving the psychology of people who accumulate more they could ever spend in 1,000 lifetimes while the world burns around them. Diana, welcome to the show.
Thanks for
I
having
think
me. I'm
a
really
topic
excited
that a
to
lot
be
of
here.
people are interested in, but are cursory observers of it. They don't know how to contribute. They don't know how to discuss it. So before we get anywhere, I have to ask all of my guests this one question. What is a truth in your industry that people do not want to admit?
I see my industry as social change. And so the truth that nobody really wants to admit is that facts don't necessarily change behavior. So I think that human beings are driven by psychology. We're driven by fear, by trauma, by competition, the ego. So even though we have decades of facts surrounding things like inequality, climate change, even psychedelics, um,
Very true.
we have these
I
facts,
feel
but
like it's an
we don't
uphill
act
battle
on
for
them.
everybody with facts to be like fighting everybody on social media with those facts. And everybody's like, no, that's not true because some random person on the internet over here said that it wasn't true. It's one of the moral conundrums that I deal with on a day-to-day.
Right.
So can we go, let's start at where you define the hoarding
That's
of wealth. How do you walk me through the comparison of a hoarder who hoards a bunch of stuff and the billionaires hoarding wealth?
so I think like when we see the TV show Hoarders, we can we automatically see that it is a mental illness. We can see how it's affecting that person, it's affecting their family. We can see what their home looks like. And we're like, that person has a mental illness. But when we think about billionaires, we don't see their hoarding in the same way. We see it as success. We want to be like them. We want to have all the stuff that they have, and so we don't think about it as a mental illness. But when you hoard that much, um, you're affecting everyone else on the planet and the planet itself. So it's not just a problem for
And
you
how do
and
you
your
break
family.
down
It's a
like billionaires?
problem
Because
for
I
all of us.
do realize there's different types of billionaires. Like everybody hates on Elon, but the majority of his wealth is companies. Like it's not actual billionaire wealth. Like do you define that as a line between people who just have a lot of money and people who are like it's all one category? Okay.
Yeah, I people love to say, well, he doesn't have like $1 trillion in cash. And I'm like, so what? He controls that wealth. And that wealth isn't available to anyone else because he controls it. So and when you have that much wealth, it's not about the stuff. It's about the power that you get by having that. So not only is he depriving other people of having the resources, but he's also gaining power that we didn't elect him. And he is making decisions for all of humanity, and we have no say in it. So his private wealth gives him the power
Very
to
fair.
make decisions
So
about
you
our
came to
future, and I
me
think that's
originally
wrong.
about the discussion I had with Rick Tumlinson about how we need to go into space. Why do you think that we don't need that goal in mind at the very least?
I don't think we need it now. I don't think we're going to need that for a very, very long time. We need to clean up our own house before we start looking for a new one. Um, the like we have telescopes that can see billions of light years in every direction, and we have not found a single other planet or moon or anything that can host life. And I think Rick's conclusion about that is, well, we have life here, so it's our job to spread it because it's not anywhere else. And I see it as this is the only example of life in billions of light years. We need to protect it at all costs. So why are we planning on leaving this place that has all of these resources to go to hostile environments? We can't even build a dome on Earth with all of the resources and have a functioning system in a dome
See,
on Earth.
my
What makes
take's a little bit
us
different
think
than
that we
both
can
of
do
you.
that on Mars?
I saw Elon take to the government. I saw him jump in and try and fix the problem. So I come from a government background. I know a lot about how government operates. I know it's broken. I know extremely well how broken it is. My take is he saw that the brokenness of it and that nobody wanted to fix it, like literally nobody, not even the president, nobody in any of these companies. They were all fighting him to fix these problems. And I actually think now he's trying to save our species more than try and put us on another planet. I think this is just my interpretation. I'm not putting words in his mouth, but I actually believe now that he's trying to save our species from a coming global war with nuclear. Like, if our planet blows up, at least we're somewhere else to have that safety net. Because again, we refuse to clean up the corruption, the waste, the fraud, the abuse in our systems. And I know extensively how bad it is in our governments.
Right.
Sorry, I know, just tangent there. So how do we combat changing that on our planet? How do we work towards getting them to fix what's here without facing the backlash that they're gonna ensue? Because it is job loss. Like, we have to cut the public sector entirely, and that
Right.
scares a lot of people.
Yep.
So how do we deal with that?
Yep. It comes back to psychology. I think we're trying to solve a human problem with technology. So I think we have the technology to actually save the planet now. Yeah, we can invent more things that might move it more quickly, but we're not actually using what we have right now. Bureaucracy, and there's all kinds of reasons for that. But I think the fundamental underlying issue is our human psychology, that we are driven by trauma, that we are driven by our egos, that we're driven by competition. We need to shift the narrative. We need to shift human thinking, and we need to celebrate things like collaboration, and sort of get rid of the competition. We need to be working together. This is a planetary problem. This isn't a US problem or a Canada problem. This is planetary. And we can't continue to be sort of sectioned off in our little countries and be fighting each other
That's very fair.
we're
And it's
all going to
actually, it
die
speaks a
if we
lot to
don't
what
work
I've
together.
done. So before all of this, I was working for the government as a software engineer, trying to fix what's inside the system. You cannot fix what's inside the system, unfortunately. You just have to go your own way and make something of yourself. And I moved out to a small community in Newfoundland, and I'm now the tourism coordinator. I'm connecting with local people. Like, my goal shifted from trying to have a good life, trying to do what everybody's doing, to now I just want to help people, just want to showcase people, building the next thing, build things for them. I want to work towards a community. And I didn't go through your process. So actually, let's get into that. How did you get to this point? How did you come to this understanding that community is be all end all?
Oh boy. Um, Kind of starting at the beginning, I guess. I had a very traumatic childhood. I won't get into all of the details, but let's just say um, it was a lot. The first 25 years of my life were pretty horrific. When I was 25, the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, I was sexually assaulted. And at that point, I just I didn't know what to do, and I packed up what I could in my car. It was pre 9/11, and I drove to Seattle.
Didn't even need a
And
passport.
there were no questions at the border at that time. There'd be a lot now. Right? Yeah. I had my cats in the car. It was July 1st. I had my skis and no questions whatsoever. So yeah, I just kind of decided to ignore all of my trauma and start a new life. And that worked for a little while. And it actually worked for a long while. And then in 2018, there was a catalyst, but everything just kind of bubbled to the surface, and I was suicidal. I really did not want to be here. I didn't see any point in continuing to live. But I knew enough that I needed help. I knew to get help. And I had tried other things. I had tried talk therapy. I had tried EMDR, all kinds of different modalities, and nothing really helped me. And I'd heard about psychedelic therapy, and I'd done some research on it, and I knew that it's illegal. And it's kind of, and at that time it was fairly difficult to find a practitioner. So I went to a plant meetup group in Seattle, and I met somebody who was currently undergoing psychedelic therapy, and he referred me to his therapist, who couldn't get me in, but he referred me to somebody else, and she was able to get me in quite quickly. And I 100% believe that that treatment saved my life.
If you're a podcaster or a video creator, this is the all-in-one AI video editor you've been looking for. I've been using Async since day one, and it's amazing to watch it progress into a complete powerhouse for creators. Especially for people like me who, well, can't edit for shit. Async leverages AI to give you total control over your video. You can record, edit, generate clips, add subtitles, and even dub your content in over 15 languages. Plus, it lets you upscale your footage and easily repurpose your content for different platforms, all without ever having to switch between different tools. It's truly a game changer. So if you want to streamline your workflow and make your editing process painless, check out async.com today. The link is in the description below.
Absolutely. Like in one session, it didn't cure. It's not a magic bullet. It didn't cure all of my trauma, but it pulled me out of the darkness enough that I could start working on everything else. So it got me to a place where I could focus my attention on myself and learn tools to keep myself alive. And one of those tools was meditation. I was always one of those people who's like, I can't meditate, I can't clear my mind. And it's funny because so many people say, well, I can't, I just don't have the brain to meditate. Those are the people who are the ones who actually can meditate
Okay.
and
I'm one of those
once they
people, but I
figure it out, they're like,
also go fishing for
thank
hours
goodness
at a
I
time
figured
and
this
just
out.
don't think of anything. So I completely
They're like,
understand. Yeah.
that's meditation. I don't think people understand that meditation comes in so many forms. Like it's not just sitting, you can meditate while you're walking. There are so many different ways of meditating, and it's not that difficult. So I did learn to meditate, and I had a daily practice. And this idea for a novel just kept coming to me during meditation, and I didn't really understand what this message was. Like, why is the universe asking me to write a book? I've never written anything in my life. I've never dreamed of writing a book. And I really thought the universe had the wrong person, but it wouldn't go away. And I was in a job that I was really unhappy in. And my partner at the time, who's now my husband, said that he could support me if I wanted to quit my job and write this book. And that was terrifying to me because I've always been very independent. And to think about somebody supporting me, oh my gosh, that was the scary part. But I quit my job and I sat at my desk at home for like 10 hours a day for 4 years, learning the craft of writing, taking all kinds of classes, joining writing groups, critique groups, and writing a book. And I've learned so much in the process. I'm glad I didn't know anything going in. Like I'm glad I didn't know how to write when I wrote the first draft, because if I'd known all the
I
stuff
feel
that I
you.
know
I know
now,
nothing of writing.
there's
I'm
no way I
having
would have
my
started.
AIs kind of assist me in it, but they're like getting the structure and everything. I'm great at talking. I am great. Just ask me a question and I can answer it. But the formats, how everything should flow, that kind of thing, that confuses me. And for you to do it all on your own without any AI assistance, I give you props for that, because I don't know how. I definitely wouldn't have been able to write my book.
Well, I'm really fortunate in that, like, I'm not going to get into the whole AI debate because that's a whole nother thing. I'm sure you've discussed it with other people. It's not a hill I'm going to die on. Um, but I'm fortunate that
Mm.
my partner, allowed me to hire human beings. But there are plenty of people who can't do that. An editor is thousands of dollars, and most people cannot afford that. And so I feel like it's kind of elitist to say you have to have human beings helping you when, yeah, there's this tool that's, yeah. So I I don't think people should use AI to just like put in a prompt and it spits out a book and you publish that. But I don't believe that every person should have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars
That's kind of
to
my
get
take
a
with
book
AI.
to
Like
the place
I
where
ensure
it
the
can be
human
published.
is in every aspect of it. It's my message. I review every copy that comes out. I also write. So I'm a lyricist. I've been writing
Yeah.
lyrics since I was 16 years old. And so now I'm able to turn that into music, which I now publish as well. But it's all about, like, it's all just like kind of it's my meditation. It's literally how I process things. It's how um, I can extend myself and give my message with the same feeling, understanding, and intention that I'm looking for. But I've never been good at the written word or even the spoken word. So it's helpful to have something that kind of condenses it and makes it easier to people, and kind of pushes the same message that I'm trying to give. And this is I don't I see the slop. I understand the slop. I make sure that I am doing everything intentionally. And I think that's something that a lot of people miss, is the intentionality around what you're building. And eventually I'm going to be making TV shows and movies because I've got them up here. I just have to put it to paper and have the software be good enough for it. Because again, I'm nitpicky. If I won't watch it, I ain't making it.
Right.
And I think that's something that people don't understand either, is if you can't sit through what you're creating yourself, why are you creating it? The whole point of creation is something for yourself, and you share it with others
Yeah.
to express what you're feeling, how you're feeling, your message, your story. And we are just a collection of stories. So if it's not something that resonates with you, it's not going to resonate with anybody else. So that's kind of where
Yes.
but I also say AI has made me more human, because I was a very technical being, software engineer. I didn't know how to interact with people. I didn't know how to talk. This would scare the crap out of me. Before AI, before I felt comfortable just having this one-on-one conversation. I would be like jittery. I would be like out of my seat. I couldn't do it because I didn't know how to have these conversations, how to have this connection and really listen and understand. So that's kind of my take on AI. So I want to talk a little bit about psychedelics and how, because I saw that you prefer MDMA over psilocybin. Why is that?
It's not necessarily a preference. It's about how they work and kind of um, the different kind of traumas that they work with. And so for my particular traumas, MDMA was what I needed at that time. I have definitely worked with mushrooms since then. Like I said, it's not a magic bullet. One session can change your life, but you still need to do the work and possibly have multiple sessions. So I have continued to work with these medicines for the past 8 years. And mushrooms have a different way of working with me. And so when I first started, the MDMA really helped me sort of look at all of my trauma without fear. So one of the problems with talk therapy with true trauma is that it re-traumatizes you when you speak about your trauma. Your body feels like it's going through the event again. So it's very difficult to just talk about the trauma. And MDMA, it breaks down your fears so that you can look at what happened to you without that body reaction, without your head telling you this is dangerous, and you can really process the things in your past and look at it from a different lens and see how things might not have been exactly how you thought they were, and you can just you can teach yourself to feel differently about what has happened. With psilocybin, for me, it's what kind of gave me my spirituality and my connection to nature. So the MDMA was kind of about my trauma. Psilocybin was more about me in the world, and moving forward, how I was going to behave in the world. And it really, in the best circumstances, it connects you with yourself, it connects you with nature, and it connects you to the rest of humanity. And I think that as humanity, we're suffering from a pandemic of disconnection. And these medicines can really help
the
us
MDMA
connect.
thing doesn't work for me because I have ADHD. So I was like, everybody was on it, and I was like, I just feel normal. I can think straighter. I can focus more. And I'm like, oh, this is yes. But at the same time, I don't like that level of focus.
Which is a
I
good
like
thing.
being a little unfocused in things and being able to switch context very rapidly. So like I don't take my meds because I don't know, they make me feel too focused, too into something, and then I get like the context collapse of like somebody comes up to me, and like especially my partner comes up to me and it's like switch gears entirely, and I'm like, oh God, please don't. But I understand the connection thing. What's the difference between that and ayahuasca and DMT?
Oh, ayahuasca. That one, my experiences with ayahuasca, it, it, it can be very different. I would say that it's most similar to mushrooms for the visuals and that kind of thing. But typically and hopefully, when you do ayahuasca, you're doing it in a ceremony with a real shaman. I I personally believe that it's a sacred plant and it needs to be respected and it needs to be done in a way that respects the plant itself and the culture that it comes from. So ideally, you are in a true ceremony with that plant, and being in a group is very, very different than being one on one with a therapist. And back to your experience with MDMA, that is a very different experience. Doing it just kind of on your own, out and about or whatever in life is a very, very different experience than one on one with a trained facilitator. So I just want to make sure that people understand the difference. Same with mushrooms. I have no problem with people, going to a party, taking mushrooms, having an experience. I think it's wonderful, but it's very, very different than sitting with a therapist under the influence of those medicines. So ayahuasca, um, it's I've only done it twice. The first time I was in Costa Rica in the jungle. It wasn't one of these luxury resorts that the
We can get
billionaires
into that
go
right
to,
after
and
this.
that's a whole other topic. So, uh, awesome. Yeah, I love that. So yes, it was with a real shaman in the jungle, respecting the plant, and I thought I was going to die. Like literally. I What the shaman told me after was that I had so much trauma, and that was my first experience of psychedelics. I don't recommend that. I don't recommend ayahuasca being your first psychedelic experience, but it was mine. But so I had not dealt with all of my trauma up until that point. And the shaman said that because I had so much trauma, the ayahuasca was just cleaning me out so that I could then start filling myself back up with health. And so I was purging for something like 13 hours straight. Like I literally thought I was going to die of dehydration, and it was really scary. And I
I
swore
feel
I
you.
would
There's a
never
few
do it
times where
again.
I'm like, I'm not going to do it
But I
again. And then I try it again. I'm like, that was definitely wrong. I'm not
it,
doing
it
that again.
yeah, right. I'm glad I did it again. My second time was much easier. I only purged once, and I had some really amazing insights. So I'm really glad that I did it again. And then DMT, I've only just started working with that, and I haven't done um, the full release where it's just like you dissolve. I've never had the experience of dissolving into nothing, and I think I'm ready for that. I would like to try that. So my DMT experiences are with these pens where you get like a lower dose, but you build on it. So you take one, and then you do it again and again, and it builds. And I've had like a release of sorts, and it's so difficult to explain to other people this experience that it's ineffable. It is, you really
I,
cannot describe it to somebody. But yeah, it's a short experience. So that's the benefit of
my
DMT.
whole thing, I haven't
15 or
done
20 minutes.
anything
I can
like
handle
higher
that.
than like mushrooms, but I wanted to try DMT mainly because people keep on talking about this race of beings, and I just want to talk to them and have like questions. Here's something I don't say out loud much. I forget half of what is said in a conversation while I'm still having it. And this is Plod. I backed it back when it was still a Kickstarter. So I've been using this thing since before most people even heard of it. It records all of my meetings, my calls, whatever, and turns it into a clean summary with decisions and action items already pulled out. And it's not just the card. They also have a wristwatch / necklace version that I can wear, clip it, or drop it on a table, hands-free, while I'm still looking at the person instead of my notebooks. The best part? I own the notes. I'm present in the room, and the summary is done before I even leave it. I've been on this since day one for a reason. If your brain leads conversations like mine does, the link's down below. This thing I actually use every day. Because I'm a very curious individual. I like to know. I say this a lot, but I would live forever just to see the progression of humanity because I just find it interesting. So just being like understanding that we have, what is it, 12 or 11 dimensions, and that beings live on a different dimension, that you could ask them questions about our own reality, that to me sounds like something I would love to do. Not condoning it for anybody out there, like it's personal, understanding that. Why has it been such a taboo to get into these treatments?
Yeah. So prior to the Vietnam War, there was a lot of research being done on psychedelics and mental health, and there was so much promise. There was so much promise. All of these studies were showing that addiction could basically be cured. PTSD, which our war veterans suffer from immensely, and they have the highest rate of suicide in any population. So the promise was astounding. But then during the Vietnam War, Nixon saw that the counterculture, the hippies, the anti-war protesters were using psychedelics, and psychedelics make you love people. Love cannot exist in war. And he was all about the war. So he shut down all of the research. He scheduled the drugs as Schedule 1 drugs, which means that it's incredibly difficult to even study them. And even though the drugs did not fit into the categories of drugs that are Schedule 1 drugs, so like to be a Schedule 1 drug, you can't have any kind of medical use, like there's no, and it has to be addictive, and I can't remember what the third thing is, but psychedelics don't fall into any of those three things, and yet he scheduled them. So that was when it started, and kind of the rest of the world fell in line with that. They're like, yep, this is bad, shut it down. And so worldwide, the studies stopped. And in the last 20 years and 10 years, mostly the last 10 years, things are really starting to open up. I think Australia legalized MDMA for therapy in 2023. We came so, I say we, I just moved from the US back to Canada, and I'm still saying we for America. But the FDA came so close to allowing MDMA for therapy use in the summer of 2024. But there are reasons why they didn't approve it, such as you can't have a control group. So with psychedelics, if you've taken a psychedelic and if you haven't. So, in a study, you're supposed to have a group of placebo or whatever that they don't know if they have the actual drug. You can't really do that with psychedelics. So that's one issue. And another issue is the therapist. So the person that is guiding you has a huge impact on the results that you get. So if you have somebody who's not trained well, or, just doesn't mesh with you, or you
I know
don't
that
feel
feeling.
safe with them, you're not going to have a healing experience. So how do you, yeah. So how do you
Very
account
fair.
for that when
The
you're
the
legalizing
leaps
a
and bounds
therapy?
we've made in the last 5 years on it, I know, has been astounding. There's a what's her name? Kelsey Sharon,
Mhm.
who's a previous combat vet, speaks highly of it. It's just a matter of like, I feel you on the needing the correct people, because I remember the first time I had done mushrooms. I did it with a group of friends, and one of my friends had done it before, and he's like, "I'm going to be your guide. I'm going to calmly like get you through this scenario," and I was okay. Like I actually had like a good time, and then I did it without a guide. And my roommate came in, and I did not like my roommate, and he turned it sour very fast. So I completely understand the need for guided therapy,
Yeah.
or guided somebody at least who knows what they're doing. Because if you don't, it can go real bad real fast. Although, again,
Mhm.
it's bad to say this, but those bad trips do open up a lot of understanding into what you're trying to process. And as scary as it was, I was
Yeah.
better on the other side for it, because I understood what I was fearing. Um, so do you worry that the pharmaceutical, like big pharma, is going to start
Right.
taking this over as an industry?
Yeah, yeah, I see that clear as day. That's what's going to happen. They're going to use the medical model instead of the healing model. So the medical model we know is broken. It doesn't work. Here, take this pill, be on your way. Like that. That's not how healing occurs. And I believe that they're going to synthesize what nature has provided, and they're going to patent it and say you can take this pill because we synthesize it, and we've you know done all the R&D and whatever. um, and then you still can't go out into the woods and pick a mushroom. That's going to be illegal.
Is it just
And I
like, so
just think
like,
that's
this goes
so
back into
wrong.
our conversation on hoarding greed, or hoarding wealth. Is it just that they don't want to lose it? Like, what's the psychology behind a billionaire not wanting to actually fix things?
um
Either
like
or, like, just in
with
general, like
the
what's going
psychedelics,
on behind their mind that
or
they can't get past to see that they're doing more damage than good? Yep.
so obviously I don't know billionaires. I've never, I have actually, I have
See,
met a
I
couple and
make
they
a
were
big
really
distinction on
nice.
nice versus kind. Like, people can be nice, but that doesn't mean that they're
um,
kind.
yeah, yeah, there is a big difference. I thank you for mentioning that. That is very true. Yeah, I just think that the way society has evolved, we have been um, celebrating the wrong things. So, like I said, we celebrate competition, the winner. We celebrate accumulation. The more you have, the better you are. So I think it really is this ingrained storytelling that as a society we've told ourselves over and over and over again. And so billionaires, what I think is that they want to be that guy. Like Elon wants to be the first trillionaire, just to say I was the first trillionaire. Like it's an ego thing. It's definitely an ego thing. I don't think people understand how much money $1 trillion is. I don't think most people can even comprehend how much a billion is and what the difference between a million and a billion is. Nobody, nobody needs $1 billion, let alone $1 trillion. So, what is that in him that is driving him to, I need to be a trillionaire.
So to
It's
break this
ego.
down for our
It's
audience, the way I
completely ego.
interpret trillions of dollars or billions of dollars is a million seconds is about 31 minutes or 31 days. I can't remember. 31 days. 11 days. Yeah. A billion is what, like,
It's 11 days. 11 days.
32
Yeah.
years. That's where I was getting the confusion. So that difference
32 years
in time is just astounding, because like you think it would just be an order of magnitude higher, so like maybe a year, maybe two, but to be up to 32 is a lot. And even when you there's so many graphics out there, go look it up, the $1 million versus the $1 billion versus the $1 trillion, and you're just astounded at what that is. But I also understand that currency is a narrative we tell ourselves. It's a trust system, and we're slowly losing trust in that system entirely as well. It just, yes, I agree. So
which is a good thing
for people who
in my opinion.
want to actually do something, like to actually focus and not make profit, how do they keep themselves humble while trying to also benefit themselves and their community?
I think shifting your focus away from yourself. So doing things out of love. I know it's cliche, but love is the answer. It truly is. Love is truly the answer to all of our problems. And if people would understand that and embody that, our world will change. So people tend to think that one individual can't make a difference. And I mean, we can point to so many individuals who have made a difference. But I don't think people understand that the way that you behave in the world affects the entire world. So if you are behaving as a kind, loving person in the world, you are spreading kindness and love. If you go into the world as a hateful person, you are spreading hate in the world. So I like to give the example of like going into a Starbucks, and if the barista is rude to you, if you're rude back, both of your days are not going to be as good as if you were kind to the person who was rude to you. You don't know what has happened in that barista's day to make them be rude to you. But if you are kind to them, it might change their day. They might be kind to the next customer instead of rude to the next customer. And that customer will have a better day because the barista was kind to them. And that person will go out into the world and be kind to other people instead of being rude to other people because somebody was rude to them. So just your behavior, just be kind.
I'm kind of
and loving.
I'm kind of an asshole.
And you will change
I know
the
I
world.
am, but I'm not. I try to just point it out. Like I'm not loving about it, but I'm just like, hey, like that was rude, or like, hey, like I don't give a shit what you're doing, but you just said this to me. Like I'm more outspoken about the internal monologue that we all have instead of just trying to hold it down. The bottling approach doesn't work, people. I can tell you that right now. Do not bottle up your emotions, because eventually they just burst on somebody you don't want those to burst on. But just pointing out certain things, like I get comments all the time. Hey, like you're a dick, or hey, like what was it? One guy, you should hire an audio engineer because you're doing a podcast and your sound is terrible. And I'm like, okay, well, first off, I'm doing this for free. Do you expect me to pay my own dime for an audio engineer? And then they're like, well, I just thought I'd inform you. And I'm like, well, the first thing you should have done was said, hey, your audio isn't that great. Here are some steps or something you could do. Just kind of highlighting that, like, you don't need to be a dick to get your point across. And then sometimes you have to be a dick to get your point across.
Right.
But this is where I blend both internet and offline together.
Yeah. my husband is kind of like you. He can be a real dick. Um, I He's become a lot more loving and kind since he's known me, and he actually has done some MDMA, which it took 5 years of convincing for him to try it, and then when he tried it, he's like, "Why did I wait so long?" And I can see the changes in him. He is becoming more kind and compassionate. Since I've known him, he's always said, "I'm very low empathy. I'm a low empathy person."
I,
And I'm like,
I
okay,
feel
so
I'm not.
let's
I've
try and
never
work
thought
on
I was low empathy. It's just I'm bad at communication, and that's one of the things that AI has helped me with, is just understanding that, like, hey, don't say that. Or my partner has been great for that too. She's like, when I get heated in a discussion, I just raise my voice, and she just sometimes just puts her hand on me and says, "Too much," just to calm me down. But yeah, like it's one of those things that I just didn't know I was doing, and I still to this day I don't know. When I get in a heated conversation, it's like I'm pissed at myself
right.
because I can't relay my thoughts correctly to you, but it comes off as me being angry at you, and it's one of those things that I'm trying to work through. But I also have I have
Right.
other mental issues that I have to deal with, as ADHD and autism. So breaking down that barrier is hard. What are steps like? So we talked about needing
Yeah.
working on methods and things to help you after the sessions. What are some of those things that people can do that can help them before or after the session to keep them on a grounded level?
So with psychedelic therapy, one of the most important parts is the integration session. So back to talking about the difference between just having an experience on your own with your friends versus sitting with a facilitator. One of the differences is the integration. So typically a day or two after your full day with the medicine, you'll meet with your therapist to discuss what you actually learned in the session. So the day that you're under the influence, there's not a lot of talking. People think that you're going to just be talking for 8 hours with the therapist. That's not really what happens. You're going inside. So you have an eye mask on and you're focused inside of yourself. The therapist is there. Like for me, I don't write. A lot of people will write things that come up, but I find that if I take my mask off and start writing, I kind of come out of that place that I was in. So I just start asking the therapist to write things down for me, and that works for me. So the therapist will help you through some tough spots, like bring you back if you're
Don't chase the rabbit.
Feeling detached from reality. So they will try and bring you, yeah. So they'll try and bring you back to yourself, but you're not talking about what you're experiencing, what you're learning. So in the integration session, you're talking about what came up. They're helping you to interpret that, and then they are giving you kind of resources and ideas of how to take that learning into your life so that you can behave differently and
when they're
think
breaking it down,
differently.
is it kind of like
Yeah.
how do you get past that judgment when they're breaking things down? Because I know there's things you talk about that you're just like, I am not happy about that. Is how I'm trying to figure out the words for this. How do you remove that judgment? Yeah.
So the judgment that you feel about yourself,
Well, I think it would
or
be
do you
more
think that
they're
they're
judging
judging
you
you,
more than anything
or
else. Does that
both?
just come with being a licensed therapist, having done this so many times? It's one of those things you just know how to do. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If
They're
you have a
probably in the wrong
judgmental
field of study,
therapist,
that's for
you
sure.
have the wrong therapist.
That's very fair.
Yes.
What
Yeah.
if somebody's hesitant on taking these or doing this? What do you say to them?
Mhm. There are definitely people who should not partake. There are certain, you know, mental illnesses that should not do psychedelics. If you're on certain medications, you should not do psychedelics. So there are contraindications. And there are doctors who will do a psychedelic screening for you. So you can pay, I don't know, $200 to talk to a doctor, tell them, and be honest. This is like this is your health and your life at risk. So be honest with the doctor and tell them everything. Tell them all the medications, all the supplements, everything about you, so that they can determine if this is safe for you. So safety is the number one concern. So I highly
And
recommend getting
nowadays, make
screened
sure
by an
to
actual doctor before you
find
do it.
somebody who's trustworthy with your drugs, because that's I I remember back in school and you just going to the local guy and not worrying about what's in your drugs, which, thinking back now, not the smartest idea, but it the goal wasn't to get you hooked. It
Mhm.
wasn't to do it. That's one of the things I miss most, is
Right.
that sense of honor I think the drug dealers used to have, which, again, counter to how things
Mm.
are, but they did pride themselves on having a pure product. They didn't want to cut it. They didn't want to make a profit. They just wanted to,
Yeah.
well, they did want to make a profit, but they knew you would come back because their product was good. And now everybody is just dying
Right.
because of it.
Right.
So
It was good. Yeah.
there's, how do you
Yeah.
actually buy the drugs? Sorry. You don't have to say it if it's like a, yeah, all good. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
well,
As long as you know
signal.
where it's coming
Signal is
from.
a
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I test you get testing kits, test everything. And as a client,
Okay.
ask to have the drugs tested in front of you. So don't trust, like, hopefully you will build a trust relationship with the therapist, but like your first time, don't trust anyone with your life, right? So they might seem to be the most amazing person. You're really vibing with them. You
We're
think
not
they're
in the
great.
70s, 80s, and 90s,
Still
or even
have
the
them test it
2000s
in
where you
front of you.
trusted your drug dealer. Yeah. Uh, everything is everything's going the route of a zero trust society, and that's one of the things I really hate. Because I like to trust up front. I like to be, hey, like, I'll give you a
Mm,
stab at something, but the moment you break that, it's like, nope, I'm not going with you anymore. And now it's, you can't even take that stab anymore before somebody's
yeah.
trying to scam you. I really feel bad for people growing up now, not being able to trust
Right.
anything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I can't, like the
mhm.
deep fakes and all this like we
It's
don't
one of
know
the things
what's
I
real.
attribute to the
And
bots
that's
and
scary
the
as hell.
scammers on the internet.
Yeah.
It really drove home, like, you can't trust
Yeah.
anybody. And it's, I don't know, there's so much layers. This is a conversation for another time, but there's so many layers of how it got to that point, through various means, through government and through media, through and bad actors
Mhm.
across the world, and then just people having their own, just trying to push people down. I guess it all goes back to competition. So we're rounding this up on the good part here. Uh, what do you hope for the
Right.
future?
Again, I hope that love leads the way, that we can, as humanity, go back to loving each other um, because that, again, it will solve our problems. You cannot have war while you're loving everyone. You cannot have inequality and people living in tents on the street if you love everybody. If you actually value human life,
Even if
you
you
will
value
not
your
allow
own life,
these things to happen.
I would say that it's best to start finding your community, finding people you trust. That was a big factor for me. I did not realize how lonely I was, how misunderstood I was, and how I wasn't connecting with people. Um, I thank my partner and my neighbor every day for kind of bringing me out
Yeah.
of that and showcasing that people can be good. She's a nurse, and she's like, I don't like people because she sees all of the bad. But at the same time, it's like I now
Oh,
see
I'm
people for who they
sure.
are. I try
Yeah.
and foster that. Of course, I get scammed left, right, center, but if it means I'm taking a shot in the dark on somebody, and if somebody
Right.
actually wants it, I will give it to them, because that's I think a lot of our system. This is the difference I see between the U.S. and the Canadian system, though, is the U.S. tends to bet on their people. The investment, the way people invest is not in the company, it's in the people building the company. They invest not so much anymore. I get that the past 10, 15 years have been like, let's just destroy everything we've ever known and create this new system that only benefits so many. But I do appreciate the style of, like, we're going to give this money to you to try something, and if it fails, it fails. Whereas the Canadian system is, here's a loan, we who have to pay it back regardless. I dislike that kind of system, because you're not taking that chance.
Hmm.
I think before we let off, I have one more question. Um, what do you what do what can an individual do? What can somebody who's looking to push love into the world, what can they start doing?
It goes back to your daily behavior, and the Starbucks example. It's thinking kindness first, and the golden rule: love thy neighbor. Like, I'm not a religious person. I don't consider myself to be Christian, but love thy neighbor. And your example of you getting involved in your community, like, that is world changing. If you start where you're at, and if you can just have a small little corner of your world where love and kindness exists, that is going to spread. And it might not feel like very much, your little tiny corner, it makes a difference.
I think it does
And if
come from
everyone did that,
getting
the
away
world
from a
would be
lot of people
different.
too. Like, there's it's hard to find community when there's so many different communities in one spot. Um, Even here, like, there are multiple communities within this community, but for the most part, I'm trying to help out the town. Like, I understand. I, I get to speak with the counselors and the mayor and all of the business people around town that are just trying to do their little part. And fun fact, this town is run by like a handful of people. Like, there is not a whole lot of people doing everything in this town. And I'm trying to get more people involved and more people to try and understand that they can carve out a little niche for themselves and just get, by just
Mhm.
connecting with others and understanding what they're doing and being able to service them. um, I get lucky because there's nobody who has websites out here, and I'm a software engineer. So um, yeah. So before we end off here, who are you? Where can people find you? And anything else you want to leave the audience with?
Sure. So my website is dianacolleenauthor.com, and there's a newsletter sign up there. So if you sign up for my newsletter, you get the free discussion guide that goes along with They Could Be Saviors. And it's kind of meant for book clubs, but even an individual can go through the questions and really learn a lot about themselves. So it's not your typical discussion guide where this character did this and this character said this and what do you think that means. It's more of a thematic discussion, like how do you feel about XYZ, and it's about you and what you sort of take away from the book. So that's my website. The book itself, which looks like this, um, is available pretty much anywhere books are sold. Obviously, the big names, but also any independent bookstore. You can go into any bookstore in the world and ask them
I
to
do as
order
well.
it for
Like,
you.
it's really,
And I
we're
really support
sad
indie
that
bookstores.
all of these bookstores are closing down. My mother talks about one in New York that she goes to, and it's like 3 stories. It was built in 1920. It's got like little. I assume it was
Oh,
a school at one point, because they have like an auditorium where the professor's at the dinner and they have like the circle spot for it. But those have character, and the people who run those stores know the books inside and out. It's not just where it is, it's when it came out,
yes.
who the
Yeah.
author is, what's similar to them. They understand their books in and out, and that's something, again, something we're going to lose over time, unfortunately, because of the way we are. So I'll make sure all of the information is down in the description down below for our
Yeah.
audience. To everybody
Yeah.
out there, please reach out if you need anything or you want to talk. I'm sure Diana would love to have a conversation over her book. And yeah, to everybody out there, thank you for listening, and stay weird.